And the fact that the IMF now is saying that Canada is most at risk in the G7 for a mortgage default crisis. This is a major housing crisis that we need to take seriously in this country before people start losing their homes. But we need to understand how we got here in the first place. Well, Madam Speaker, this Liberal-NDP government spent more money than every single government before them combined. Madam Speaker, let me put this into context. Between 2015 and 2023, this Liberal-NDP government spent more money than every single government from 1867 until 2015 combined. And that led to 40-year highs in inflation, which led to the most rapid mortgage interest rate hikes we haven't seen in the last 3 decades. The Bank of Canada had to counter something with these interest rate hikes. It was a reactionary, it was reaction to something, and that something was the government deficit. And it's not just Conservatives who admit that government deficits fueled inflation, which made the interest rates go up. It's actually random Liberals and others who said the same thing. I'll point to the 3 M's, Manley, Macklem, and Morneau, who all admitted that government spending fuels inflation. Also, Mark Carney, who can possibly be the next Liberal leader, it seems like. He also said that inflation was due to domestic pressures, nothing to do with outside, like the Liberals and the NDP would try to make you believe that it's always someone else's problem and never theirs. But someone who could be a Liberal leader, even he admits that the inflation we see today is due to domestic pressures. Even the current finance minister admitted this. Even though she doesn't believe in it, she still admitted to it that government deficits do fuel inflation. It's too bad that after she said she wanted to be careful of not fueling the inflationary fire, she dumped $63 billion of a jerry can of fuel on that inflationary fire. And what ended up happening? Inflation went up, and so did mortgage interest rates. And once again, this is why Canada is now most at risk in the G7 for a mortgage default crisis. And so when inflation went up due to all the government deficits, the Bank of Canada had to do the opposite of what this government is doing. And former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley put it perfectly, who said today's situation is much like the Liberal-NDP government deficit is like pressing the gas, the inflationary gas, while the Bank of Canada is slamming on the brakes as hard as they can with their interest rate hikes. Both things are happening at one time. They're working in opposite directions. The engine is going to blow. But who's going to be left to be paying all this mess? It's Canadian taxpayers.